you very much. Thank you very much. Look, you couldn't have had somebody that means more to me professionally than the person who just gave that introduction. I just want to say Tom Coburn is my inspiration. I mean this as sincerely as I possibly can. Watching people like Tom Coburn conduct themselves, who I've known since 1995, not 1996, is the kind of person that I said, that's who I want to be like in Congress. When I ran for Congress, that's what I was thinking. Tom mentioned, well, look, first let me say it's good to be back. Not necessarily in this hall, which is, by the way, phenomenal. It's good to be back here in Oklahoma City because this is where Jana and I got married, over at St. Joe's Old Cathedral. So it's really nice to be back here in Oklahoma City. My wife, as Tom mentioned, is Jana Ryan, but Jana Little, daughter of Prudence and Dan Little from Medill. And it's also great to see a lot of other friends here from Medill. So, Marshall County, let's go. All right? Hey, there's a pretty good clap there. I want to get into that later, but let's get into the meat of it all. First off, I think I saw Mary Fallon here, and I've just got to tell you, I think this is Mary. Is this your congressional district? You are so well served here. This woman is a rock. She is a solid standard bearer of conservative thought. The one criticism I would have is we need her to keep in the fight in Washington, so our loss is going to be your gain because she's going to be one heck of a great governor. But, now, last week was a big week. Big week for America, big week for liberty, a big week for our cause. Because on May 21st, Congress enacted a new intolerable act. It passed the health care bill. Or should I say, one political party passed it over a swelling revolt by the American people. This reform is really nothing short of an atrocity. It mandates that every American must buy health insurance under IRS scrutiny. It sets up an army of federal bureaucrats who ultimately decide for you how you should receive your health care, what kind, how much, who's the insurer, or whether you don't qualify for it at all. Never has our government claimed the power to decide when each of us have lived well enough or long enough to be refused life-saving medical assistance. The presumptuous reform has put this nation, once dedicated to the life and freedom of every person, on a long decline toward the same mediocrity that the social welfare states of Europe have become. Americans are preparing for another American Revolution, this time a peaceful one with election ballots, but the causes of both are the same. And we're going to need a lot in this upcoming election. We need the intellectual ardor of groups like OCPA. We need the intellectual fortitude of groups like we have in Washington, the Heritage Foundation. But we also need to make sure that men and women who go to Congress, who are running, stand up and fight for what this country is all about. Because we have some decisions to make in this election and the election in 2012. Should unchecked centralized government be allowed to grow and grow in power, or should its powers be limited and returned to the people? Should irresponsible leaders in a distant capital be encouraged to run up scandalous debts without limit that crush jobs and stall prosperity? Or should the reckless be turned out of office and a new government elected to live within its means? Should America bid farewell to the exceptional freedom and retreat to the European social welfare paternalism? Or should we make a new start in the faith that boundless opportunities belong to the workers, the builders, the industrious, the achievers, and the free? We are beginning a new stage in American politics. What I would basically say is a new political realignment is underway. And we've gone through these things for many generations. We had the New Deal, the Great Society, the Reagan Revolution. A new one is beginning. And this is going to be kind of a campaign, an election season, unlike we've seen in a long, long time. We're challenged to answer again the momentous question our founders raised when they launched mankind's noblest experiment in human freedom. They made a fundamental choice and changed history for the better. Now it's our high calling to make that choice between managed scarcity or solid growth, between living in dependency on government handouts or taking responsibility for our lives, between confiscating the earnings of some and spreading them around, or securing everyone's right to the rewards of their work, between the European social welfare state or the idea of free market democracy we have here in America. What kind of nation do we wish to be? That's the key question. What kind of society will we hand down to our children and to future generations? In the coming watershed election, the nature of this unique and exceptional land is itself at stake. We will choose one of two different paths, and once we make that choice, there really is no going back. And I want to explain exactly what I mean when I say that. This isn't the kind of election that I would have preferred, but it was forced on us by our current leaders in government. When you take a look at where we are right now, we are clearly heading down a path, a new path that our new government has given us, creating entitlements and promising benefits that model the United States after the European Union, a welfare state society where more people pay little or no taxes but become dependent on government benefits, where tax reduction is impossible because more people have a stake in the welfare state than they do in free enterprise, where high unemployment is accepted as a way of life, and the spirit of risk-taking is smothered by a tangle of red tape from an all-providing, centralized government. True, the United States has been moving slowly down this path for a long time, and Democrats and Republicans share in this blame. But now it's getting close. Now we are approaching what I would call a tipping point, that once passed, we will become a different people. Before the tipping point, Americans remain independent and we take responsibility for our own being. Once we've gone beyond this tipping point, the self-sufficient outlook will be gradually transformed into what I call a soft despotism that, again, looks like Europe's social welfare state. You see, soft despotism isn't cruel or mean. It's kindly and sympathetic. It doesn't help anyone take charge in life, but it does keep everyone in sort of a happy state of childhood. A growing centralized bureaucracy will provide for everyone's needs, care for everyone's health, direct everyone's career, arrange everyone's important private affairs, and work for everyone's pleasure. The only hitch is this: government must become the sole supplier of everyone's happiness. That's the shepherd over this flock of sheep. Is that a little bit of an exaggeration? Am I embellishing this too far? Are we really reaching this kind of a tipping point? Exact and precise measures are imprecise, but let me give it to you this way. One of the best unassailable think tanks is called the Tax Foundation. And what the Tax Foundation did is put out an eye-opening study that in 2004, 20% of U.S. households were getting 75% of their income from the federal government. In other words, 1 out of 5 American families are already totally government dependent. Another 20% of American households are getting 40% of their income from the federal government. That means another 1 in 5 families have become government reliant for their livelihood. All told, 60% today. 60%, or 3 out of 5 American households, were receiving more government benefits and services in dollar value than they are paying back in taxes. The Tax Foundation estimates that President Obama's budget, which is now in force, will raise this net government inflow from 60 to 70%. Look at it this way. 3 out of 10 American families are supporting themselves, plus, through government, supplying or supplementing the incomes of 7 other households. As a permanent arrangement, this is individually unfair. It's politically inequitable, and it's economically dangerous. It raises a subtle but real threat to self-government when the few are paying more and more of the bill for government services and subsidies to the majority. You know what they always say, he who pays the piper calls the tune. Well, the next chapter is the rule of crony capitalism, where those who pay the most taxes get the privileges, and government by and for the people is replaced by government by and for the few. The end of this story is soft despotism. We already know what crony capitalism is. We already see it well on display. When government sends bailout money to Wall Street firms they label too big to fail, that's crony capitalism. When government buys shares in General Motors, names their management, and dictates their salaries, that's crony capitalism.